Hello there, dear viewer, and welcome to haQ. My name is Jakob. I'm your host, and you're watching my top 5 iOS synth app list for 2020. Many synthesizers came out, and I only chose 5 of them to make it interesting. So I'll be presenting the synthesizers in here by order of release dates. But first, I want to mention a synthesizer that I simply cannot put on the list because it wouldn't be fair to any other synth. And I'm talking about Agonizer synthesizer. Now, this synthesizer was made by Kairos and myself for myself. And so, of course, it is the best bass synthesizer in the world for me. And you see why that wouldn't be a fair thing to put on this list. So I'm sorry, Agonizer. I'm sorry, Kai. I can't. I just have to move this one over to the side. Besides,
a genuinely incredible achievement. There isn't anything else quite like Agonizer on the App Store.
He kind of already ended up on GarageBand Guide's list. And you know what? That feels pretty amazing. Yeah. Intro. First up is Bliss Alpha Synthesizer. Now, when it comes to the synthesizer engine, it's powerful. It's got 3 oscillators. It's got a good range of modulation abilities. So you have the regular stuff such as LFO1, LFO2, envelope, but then you also have a motion sequencer. And me personally, I love these things because I like doing rhythmical modulation or rhythmical automation or whatever you want to call it. And it's so easy when you have basically a step sequencer for modulation in a synth. Now, apart from me really liking the color scheme in all of Bliss's apps, you know, the red, yellow, green, and blue, well, I really enjoy that. But what I really, really love in this synth is its overall sound. It's got a great sound to it. Now, there is this one thing I want to highlight in here. You see, Bliss Alpha Synth has some in-app purchases, but they're all sound packs. And they've been made by people you might recognize from the mobile musician or iOS music making scene. I'm talking about the GarageBand Guide, Sound of Israel, and also Red Sky Lullaby. And if you do decide to get Bliss Alpha Synth, why not buy at least one of these packs just to support these great creators? Now, the Bliss team has done an excellent job with Alpha Synth. And if you want to know who the Bliss team is, or are in this case, how they came together, how Bliss was formed, and, you know, the background of these guys, then I do suggest you watch my video on that. It's popping out in the upper right card right now, and you can also find it linked to in the description and in a pinned comment down below, with an app link to Bliss Alpha Synth. Bliss? Bliss? Bliss?
So, first, it's pronounced Bliss, which is kind of a state where you are in the moment making your music and feel at ease and happy inside.
Next up is a synthesizer that came out back in March 2020, and I'm talking about Frms Granular Synthesizer. Now, this is a granular synth, so the sound is pretty much, it's based on what you feed it. So what you record in the forms of audio or the type of samples that you're putting into there. And of course, FRMs already comes with a library of samples that you can use straight out of the box. Now, Frms is a pretty powerful synthesizer, and it has a lot of controls spread out over several pages, such as control, envelope, matrix, modifiers, and global. And there's even a hidden function here. Well, it's not really hidden. I don't know why I said hidden. So basically, the granular engine can be switched out to an oscillator engine instead. If you go into the control page in any layer and look for the engine button here, right now it says GRN for granular, but if you press it, it will switch out the granular engine for an oscillator engine, and now you can choose between sine, saw, square, and triangular waveforms. As you can see, some of the controls gets blackened out because they are primarily used for the granular engine. Either way, this makes it very interesting for making layered sounds. Mixing oscillators with samples is something I like a lot. Now, the awesomeness of FRMS does not stop with granular synthesis. No, it even goes further, because if we go into the global menu, we can find an FM mode. And in here, we have the options of routing the 4 different layers as if we were routing operators inside an FM synthesizer. Now that is awesome. I highly recommend FRMS Granular Synthesizer, and if you want to go get it for yourself, you can find an app link down in the description and also down in the pinned comment. Now, let's move on to the third synthesizer on our list. Now, the next app on my list is, well, it's one of the best apps to have come out during 2020. Drobo changed the way I look at this platform when it comes to groove boxes, synthesis, sequencing. It's so good, and anyone who hasn't tried out Drobo yet, you are definitely missing out. Yes, so I built my own groove box in this thing, and I even made a whole video about that, how I didn't like my groove box. And I never abandoned that groove box either, because Drobo is built in such a way, it's made in such a way, so it's fun to explore and build your own setups. It basically made me want to go back and just keep fixing my groove box. And you know, next year I'll have something even more awesome to show you when it comes to my Drobo Hackbox MK. It's probably gonna be marked 47 or something because it's going through so many changes. But yeah, it makes me want to come back. Drobo is just like that. So Drobo is basically a modular synthesizer which can become anything. So you can build any synth you want, monophonic, polyphonic, doesn't matter. It can also do drum synthesis, and it has modules in there that makes you, well, it's possible for you to build something that works like Impactor, which is my most favorite drum machine, drum thing ever. Nothing on the iOS platform quite like that one, apart from Drobo here now, because it was made by the same guy who made Impactor. And on top of that, it's got sample player modules in there where you can slice up stuff, and it's so much. On top of that, you also have an Electron-style sequencer, which is also polyphonic, so you can record multiple notes into just one step, for instance. You can do parameter locks, it never ends. However, there's one thing I want to mention. You see, I only talked about it becoming a synthesizer, a drum machine, a rompler. Well, it can also be an effect unit. And on top of that, you can run Drobo as standalone, but you can also run it as an AUV3, and now it also has support for AUV3 multi-IO, and it also has support for hosting other AUV3s inside Drobo. The formula for this thing is insane. Go get Drobo. It's worth every penny, dollar, whatever you might invest into this, it's worth it. Next on our list is a synthesizer that was released back in August 2020 by Versyn, and it is AdStation. Now this is a powerful beast, and the biggest criticism I can give it is that it can take time to get something done in here, because you have way too many options sometimes. Well, not way too many. I actually like that there's so many options, but for a beginner it can be hard to get into. I completely fell in love with this synthesizer when I was exploring it thoroughly during a live stream on a second channel here on YouTube that I have called Jakob haQ Live. But yeah, I came across this sound. This is great. What's so awesome about AdStation is that it's using additive synthesis, and that's something where you take something and you add something and add something and add something to make it something new. I know that sounds weird, especially if you're a beginner, but in this case, every sound you hear inside AdStation is basically made up of just sine waves. Don't believe me? Well, check this out. So here I'm gonna load one box in this empty instrument. I open it up by double tapping on it. We're inside the block menu, inside the harmonics view, and we can see all of the sine wave harmonics in here. So if I play this, we hear a saw waveform. And if I remove everything except from one, we can hear that it's just a sine wave. You can find out more of how this works with harmonics and fundamental frequencies and, added harmonics and everything if you watched this video I made a little while ago, really helpful for people getting into synthesis. Well, back to the synth. When it comes to AdStation, it has a lot to offer, because what you can do just in the harmonics view here, just that bit of synthesis is very powerful. Now, like I said, you can do a lot of synthesis by just adding and subtracting sine waves inside the harmonics view here. But then there are more pages: pan, frequency, attaQ, decay, filter, noise, and we're just in the block view. What happens when we go to the part view is that we have a new set of pages like level mod, pitch mod, filter mod, noise mod, sequence, and arpeggio. And there's more, because we can do this type of synthesis up to 32 times, and we can copy and we can paste stuff by using a long press command, and on top of that we can have these boxes being played in sequence, beginning with the first one, moving on to the next one. It's such a powerful synth, and I highly recommend it, even though it might take you a long time to get into, and it might take you a long time to get anything done in here. Okay, so the last app on this list is not actually a synthesizer, but I don't have any other list to put it on, and it is an instrument. Well, it falls into synth category, even though it's not, because it's a rompler, and I'm talking about the amazingly sounding House Mark I. Wow, does this thing sound good! Now, Housemarque 1 came to be through a collaboration between Matthew Fetcher and Jeff Cooper, members of AudioKit Pro, so there's probably more people involved in this, and also producers Kennard Garrett and Justin Henny Henderson, otherwise known as Henny the Business. And man, what a good collaboration this is, because the sound of this thing, I mean, it's perfect. It's perfect. You just need to hear it in order to want it. You see, this is what I love about the AudioKit Pro project here, because it's opening up a world for new developers to just dive into iOS music app making. This app was developed at the Ray Charles Performing Arts Center, and they used this to try to teach students how to code. So I'm thinking we're gonna see a lot of new, younger devs entering the iOS music app making scene here, and I'm so excited to see what will happen, what will come from this. Yeah, support AudioKit, support this project by going and getting Housemarque 1. So there you go. And before you leave a comment with your top list, explain at least one of your choices and why that synth is the best one on the iOS platform coming out in 2020. And also leave me with a thumbs up if you liked the video, a thumbs down if you didn't like the video. So as usual, you can support me through these links here on the side, find Agonizer through this link, my music over here, and yeah, that's pretty much it. As usual, I wish you a very productive week. Now go finger all of your stuff and have a lot of fun doing it. Oh, the next list is gonna be about FX plugins and stuff, so stay tuned for that.